By way of stories, we've begun an exploration into what it means to be human, or more explicitly, what it means to be real. One of the fruits that come to us when we no longer need to try to be anything, to do anything. There are several little anecdotes, ingredients that we add to the pot of our exploration. The first is that story of Moses when he was on his way to confer with God on the mountain. But as he was trudging, he passed by a meadow where a farmer was gathering hay for his animals. And as he was gathering the hay, he was calling to God, "Oh God, thank you. Thank you for sending the abundance of food for my animals, to bringing the seasons which allow me and my family to live. If you were here, I would comb your hair and make straw sandals for your feet." When Moses heard these words, he thought to himself, "What blasphemy is this?" So he marched over to the farmer and he said just those words, "What blasphemy is this? Do you think God is a man that you can comb his hair and make straw sandals for his feet, you silly man?" And then Moses went on his way up to the mountain. But when he arrived there, God castigated him roundly. "How could you speak like that to one who prays and gives honor to me in the way that he knows how?" So after his meeting with God, on his way back from whence he came, Moses passed by the field once again to go and apologize to the farmer. But when he entered the field, he found the farmer still forking his hay, but now in a state of deep silence, with tears of bliss rolling down his face. Then there's the story about the monk who was on a pilgrimage and happened to pass by a lake. And in the middle of the lake was a small island. And as he passed, he could hear chanting, "Om Hum Ah, Om Hum Ah." And he thought to himself, "This is totally wrong. This chant is not proper." So he decided that he would take a little boat and row himself out to the island to teach this person to chant properly. And this is what he did. He rowed out to the island and confronted the being who was chanting and told him that he was chanting completely wrong. It should be Om Ah Hum, Om Ah Hum. And so they spent some time together as the monk taught the being how to chant correctly. But after the monk had been on his pilgrimage, passing back that way, he thought he'd check on the being to see how his chant was going. But just as he was about to get in the boat to row himself out to the little island, there was the being walking across the water towards him. When he approached, he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've tried to practice the way that you were telling me to do, but I still haven't got it right. Will you teach me again?" But of course the monk was totally chastened by what he had seen, and apologizing to the being, said, just continue to chant in the way that you have been doing. And then finally, there's a little anecdote about the milkmaid who once every few days would go to the gathering of a would-be guru who held his meetings on the side of a river. But the milkmaid very oftentimes was late in arriving at the meetings, and of course when she was scolded she would apologize and say it was because of the ferry sometimes being delayed, waiting for some goods to be loaded and so forth. But the would-be guru scolded her roundly. Haven't I been teaching you all of this time the power of the name of Rama? But after that, the would-be guru noticed that the maiden was always on time. And then one day he looked up from his meditative state in the pretense of waiting for his followers, when he saw the milkmaiden walking across the water towards him. And he was, of course, greatly surprised. And when he asked her, she said, but teacher, you told me the power of Rama's name. So of course the would-be guru thought, well, I must be right then. I must be right in what I'm giving out. I'll just test this out. But of course, when he stepped into the water, even though he intoned the name of Rama, he sank very quickly under the moving water. What do those three little anecdotes bring to our awareness as we experience this place, this state in which we no longer have to be this or that, do this or that, try. What do these three anecdotes mean in our exploration into what it means to be human, to be real? What are you finding? What's your experience? As this fruit ripens for us, the fruit of awareness that we no longer have to try.
There is no more rules to follow. We know when we vibrate in the divine.